if you want to do well on the CELPIP, there's something you need to understand that most candidates miss. The biggest factor separating low-scoring candidates from high-scoring candidates isn't how much they studied, it's how they studied. Using the right strategies for each section is essential. Without them, you can put in a lot of effort and still not see the results you're looking for. This is the approach candidates use inside our CELPIP packages. They discover how strategic preparation can make a real difference in their results. In this video, you'll get 10 essential preparation tips that cover all 4 sections of the CELPIP: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. By the end, you'll know exactly how to prepare for each section. Let's start with tip number 1. Know the test structure before you start preparing. This might sound obvious, but a lot of candidates skip this and go straight into practice questions. That's a mistake you don't want to make. The CELPIP has 4 sections: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Each one has its own format, time limits, and scoring criteria, and each one requires a different set of skills. For example, in the listening section, you will hear conversations and recordings from everyday life and answer multiple choice questions. In the reading section, you need to read a range of texts and answer questions about them. The writing test asks you to write an email and a response to a survey question. And in speaking, you need to complete 8 different tasks, such as giving advice, describing a scene, and expressing an opinion. Once you understand what the CELPIP is about, you can prepare strategically for every part of the test. You won't be surprised on test day, and you'll know exactly what to focus on to reach your target score. The second tip is to study each section separately. A lot of candidates make the mistake of doing general English practice and hoping it'll be enough for the CELPIP. But the problem is that each section is testing something different, and you need to know how to show the examiners exactly what they're looking for. For instance, in the reading test, you need to practice finding key information quickly in the text. For listening, you need to train yourself to follow spoken English and pick out the details that matter. For writing, you need to understand what each task is asking you to do. Writing an email to a neighbor is very different from responding to a survey about a community issue. And for speaking, you need to practice organizing your ideas fast and expressing them clearly and naturally under time pressure. When you give each section dedicated study time, you can build the right skills in the right areas. Here comes tip number 3. Learn the right reading strategies. One of the most common mistakes CELPIP candidates make in the reading section is trying to read every word of every passage. This wastes a lot of time and can actually hurt your score. You don't need to understand every detail, you just need to find the right information fast. Take reading part 4 as an example. The texts are longer and more demanding, and the questions often focus on the writer's opinion or attitude. In most cases, you can find the answer by scanning for keywords from the question and reading closely around them. There's no need to go through the whole passage word by word. A simple approach that works well is to read the question first, then scan for the part of the text that's relevant. Once you've found it, read that section carefully and pick your answer. It keeps you focused and saves you valuable time. Learning to read strategically is one of the most effective ways to improve your reading score. Tip number 4 is to take smart notes in CELPIP listening. A lot of candidates try to write down everything they hear, and that's a big mistake. The audio moves fast. If you're busy writing, you're not really paying attention to what's being said, and you'll start missing things. The point of taking notes is not to record everything. It's to capture the key details you'll need to answer the questions. Things like the main topic, the problem being discussed, and any important facts that come up. Keep your notes short. Use a few words and simple symbols rather than full sentences. If a speaker gives 2 reasons for something, jot down a word or two for each one. That's all you need to jog your memory when the questions appear. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You'll develop a feel for what's worth writing down and what you can leave out. Now, here is something important. Many CELPIP candidates think that knowing a few preparation tips is enough to get a strong result, but it's not enough. To do well in the CELPIP, you need to understand how each section works, what the examiners are looking for, and how to demonstrate those skills in your response. That's exactly what we teach in our CELPIP packages. Our students get step-by-step guidance on how to approach the test effectively, so they feel confident and ready on test day. They learn how the tasks are designed and what skills they need to give high-scoring responses. Our CELPIP packages include lessons for all tasks, sample answers, mock tests, templates, and much more. If you want expert guidance for your CELPIP preparation, click the link below to learn more. Tip number 5 is to know the scoring criteria for each section. This is one of the most powerful things you can do in your preparation, and most candidates never do it. The CELPIP examiners don't give high scores randomly. They're evaluating very specific things, and those things are laid out clearly in the scoring criteria. When you know what they are, you can focus your preparation on giving the examiners exactly what they want, and that can have a real impact on your score. In the speaking test, for example, there are 4 criteria: content and coherence, vocabulary, listenability, and task fulfillment. Content and coherence looks at how well your ideas are organized and developed. Vocabulary looks at the range and precision of the words you use. Listenability looks at how easy you are to understand, including your grammar and sentence variety. And task fulfillment checks whether you've addressed the question fully, with the right tone and an appropriate length. When you understand how the CELPIP examiners score your responses, it's much easier to boost your score. Let's move on to tip number 6. Master the format of the writing tasks. The 2 writing tasks on the CELPIP are quite different from each other. Task 1 is an email and task 2 is a survey response. The examiners want to see that you understand both formats and can handle them properly. For task 1, you need to follow proper email conventions. That means opening with an appropriate greeting, organizing your message clearly, and closing in a way that fits the situation. The tone matters too. If you're writing to a manager or someone in an official role, you need to use formal language. If you're writing to a friend or neighbor, a more casual tone is more appropriate. Task 2 is a different situation entirely. Here, you're sharing your opinion on a community or workplace issue. You need to state your view clearly and back it up with well-developed reasons. The language should be organized and clear, with a strong introduction and a conclusion that brings your ideas together. These 2 tasks require different skills, and it's important to be comfortable with both before test day. If you're not familiar with the format, you'll waste time figuring out how to structure your response, and as a result, your score will go down. Tip number 7 is to manage your time effectively. Running out of time is one of the most common reasons candidates lose points on the CELPIP. They don't score low because their English is weak, but because they don't finish. Every section has its own time limits. In writing, for example, you have 27 minutes for task 1 and 26 minutes for task 2. That's not much time to plan, write, and proofread your response. In the speaking test, you only have 60 to 90 seconds to give your response. That means you need to think quickly and organize your ideas under time pressure. The best way to get used to this is to practice with a timer. If the first time you experience real time pressure is during the actual test, it's going to feel stressful. But when you've practiced under time conditions regularly, it starts to feel like second nature. By the way, if you want this channel to keep going, write yes in the comments, click like and subscribe. We only make videos that you actually want to watch. Now, let's continue with 3 more essential tips for your CELPIP preparation. Here is tip number 8. Use advanced vocabulary in CELPIP speaking and writing. Both sections directly evaluate your vocabulary range, so the words you choose affect your score. One of the most common patterns in low-scoring responses is word repetition. Many candidates use the same basic words over and over. Words like good, bad, think, and get. This tells the examiner that your vocabulary is limited and it brings your score down. Instead, use more precise, varied language. For example, in speaking task 2, you need to talk about a personal experience. Don't say, "It was a good trip and I had a good time." Instead, you could say, "It was an unforgettable experience and I thoroughly enjoyed every moment." The word unforgettable is far more vivid and specific than good. Moreover, thoroughly enjoyed shows a much stronger command of English than had a good time. Small word choices like these add up across your whole response and show the examiners that you have a strong vocabulary range. Tip number 9 is to focus on your weakest section first. A lot of candidates spend most of their study time on the sections they already feel comfortable with. But if you want to make real progress, you need to put your time into the sections where you're losing the most points. Take an honest look at where you're struggling. Maybe your reading is strong, but your speaking feels rushed and you run out of things to say. Maybe writing feels manageable, but you struggle to keep up with the listening recordings. Wherever the gap is, that's where you should be focusing. Once you've built that weaker section up to a level you're satisfied with, you can shift your focus to improving your stronger sections. That way, nothing is dragging your overall score down, and you put yourself in the best position to achieve your target CLB level. The last tip is one that every high-scoring candidate follows. Be consistent with your preparation. A lot of candidates study intensively for a few days and then take a long break. Then they do it again. The problem is that this makes it really difficult to build the kind of skills and habits that lead to a strong result. When you study on a regular basis, the things you're working on have time to stick. Your vocabulary improves, following spoken English becomes easier, and your writing starts to feel more natural and confident. The candidates who score highly on the CELPIP aren't always the ones who started with the strongest English. They're the ones who prepared strategically and consistently. If you want expert guidance for your CELPIP preparation, check out our CELPIP packages using the link below. Our packages include step-by-step guidance, mock tests, templates, and other useful resources to help you feel confident on test day. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you're notified when the next video comes out. Also, share this video with your friends so they can improve their CELPIP score too. See you in the next video!